When lessons are limited to pictures and pages, history remains two-dimensional.
There is my uniform.
This is your actual uniform?
That's my actual uniform that I wore home.
But at the Camp Landing Museum in Middleburg, the subject speaks for itself through Lieutenant Frank Towers, who first served his country in World War II.
It's always nice to look back and read some of these things and recall the memories of when I got them, where I got them.
At 92 years old, Frank still volunteers here every week, sharing the stories of the war, including his own from the 30th Infantry Division.
I've never had such an impact on anybody's life before until this episode.
April 13th, 1945. As World War II came to a close, American soldiers swept through the German countryside, liberating the towns and people held captive by the Nazis.
They had been tortured.
At the bottom of a hill outside the town of Magdeburg stood a freight train.
There were skin and bones.
Inside the boxcars were mothers, fathers, and children who'd spent 6 days packed so tight they could only stand.
Unfed.
2,500 Jewish prisoners from the Bergen-Belsen concentration camp. Sick, starved, and likely headed to their death had a small American tank battalion not discovered them.
It was hard for us to believe that any group of human beings would do this to another group of human beings.
Haunting images of human suffering, Lieutenant Towers clearly remembers.
But we had not seen any of this torture that they were talking about until we came upon this train at Farsleben. And then, of course, then we became believers.
As a liaison officer, Lieutenant Towers knew the roads well, and he was tasked with transporting the victims.
Out of this battle zone to a place of safety, and, of course, to afford them food, clothing, and shelter.
The liberators loaded the survivors into trucks and delivered them to safety.
So I was just doing my job, and what I did today didn't have any bearing on what I did tomorrow.
Though the years have taken him far from that German hillside, Frank says he has always felt connected to the people they helped rescue from the train.
As one of them remarked to me, we were born again. Our life started all over again for us.
And almost a lifetime later, he's finding out just how much his actions meant. September 23rd, 2009, Hudson Falls High School, upstate New York.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the soldiers of the 30th Infantry Division and the 743rd Tank Battalion.
United once again.
We're gathered here together, liberators and survivors. It's a very emotional meeting for all of us.
Each story is absolutely memorable. There's a common thread that runs through every single one.
What began as a simple class project culminated in this gathering.
What do you remember from us? What do you remember?
Oh, I remember a lot from you.
Two groups of people finally able to share thoughts long left unspoken.
It's unbelievable that we survived. It's unbelievable.
Hudson Falls history teacher Matt Rizal rekindled the connection made almost 65 years ago.
They're grandparents now, and they're going into their 70s. I think there's definitely a feeling of wanting to know what happened to them, this traumatic events, the Holocaust, when they were a child.
Because it was an impossible dream.
Stephen Berry was 20 years old when the Americans freed him from the train. His desire to understand his own history led him to Hudson Falls, where he found Frank Towers.
We kind of hugged and kissed and cried. Because, basically I saw him 65 years ago as a young man. And
I changed something. But can you imagine an army that landed on D-Day and fought its way through unbelievable conditions and getting shot at, and at the same time rescuing 2,500 flea-bitten Jews. I mean, it's just, if you tell this to somebody, you say you're lying. It just didn't happen, but it did.
The Holocaust was a crime that claimed millions of innocent lives, and in a way, these are all survivors, the people rescued and their liberators. Their stories must be remembered, not only how they began long ago on that train near Magdeburg, but how their stories continue today.
Well, yeah, we'll always be special friends.
There's no question about that. There is a bond here that will never be broken. Yeah. There is no question about that.
This is something that just doesn't happen every day. This is once in a lifetime, our meeting.
It really